day of the our sixth, like this is a sixth week of Science Society set to for Atmanirbhar Bharat. By the time the context, at least the people here present here, know in short that we are responding to the post-COVID situations with the new normal and the new opportunities of bringing the stakeholders of taking the knowledge to the community and addressing the systemic gap of the community's science and technology innovation capacity, absorption capacity, improvement, the non-governmental organizations and the startups, knowledge updations mechanisms, and the knowledge organizations, the orientation towards our own field level problem. So as you know, we are trying, this is a the virtual platform, the web clinic, because we want to discuss among ourselves that what is the systemic, the how to address these systemic gaps and what are the new areas. So today is our the fourth sectors of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the social infrastructure sectors. And yesterday, we have started, and the second day is in socially relevant STI, where basically the people from the ground will share the their experience of developing the capacity with the community. What are the challenges, and linking it with the knowledge organizations? What are the opportunities? So I will just share with you that what are the opportunity we could find that yesterday just a minute, there's a problem. Just a minute, I'm just. I think there is an issue here. So actually, just a minute. What yesterday we find out that the definitions of the social, the interest, the social capital itself. What we found it out that how the nutrition and the health aspects of the the communities, and what are the main gaps that in terms of the informations, that in terms of the the direct interventions, and we found out that how entrepreneurships can be developed by keeping in the mind the requirement of the requirement of the community itself. And then what more we found that there are many the ICT based initiatives have been taken to strengthen this the communities the nutrition capacity, nutritional requirement, so that the mental capacity and the cognitive capacity can be improved, so that they can be a part of the social, the capital and the social infrastructure of the country. Also, what we saw that there are the opportunities that were with the the community and the startups and the industry, we can create of the nutrition's best new nutrition's based or locally relevant nutrition based entrepreneurships. Also, we saw that how the technologies are available for the training of the women, and how their not only their skill but also their the internal component of their livelihood system, that is their health, their the education quality, that how it can be improved through that. So today we will see it from the the other point of view of the people who are from the field. So what are their the interest, and we will again, as I've told, like please you put your ideas, your problems, and the question answers in our on this Science for Society Atmanirbhar Bharat's the portal, which so that we can develop it as a dynamic interactive process. So with that, I think I will hand it over to my colleague Ms. Indu Puri to take it forward to today's the deliberations. Thank you very much for all of you to be part of here.
Sir, today's proceedings I will be taking over.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like my colleague Dr. Gopi Krishna will take it over, and Gopi, I request you to take it forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, on the behalf of ISTI Vigyan Prasar, Office of PSA, FICCI, HESCO, WWF, AGNI, I welcome you all for the 6th week session on Science Society Setu for Atmanirbhar Bharat, which has been very thoughtfully conceived, I should say curated by Dr. Datta, for bridging the systemic gaps that exist between the knowledge organizations, community-based organizations, and communities, which are all our participants in this web clinic, in knowledge generation and knowledge utilization for creating sustainable, resilient ecosystems. So this is needed for building an Atmanirbhar Bharat. So the entire process, what we have conceived will be underpinned by two-way knowledge transfer for the effective alignment of technology, knowledge, and skills for utilization of local resources. So what we have discussed in last 5 weeks, we had deliberations on agriculture and allied sectors, MSME, and economic sectors, where we had collated several technology feasible and economically viable STI-led solutions for scaling up wherever possible. So I think we will be able to do the similar things during these deliberations also. So in the entire process, what we have done is we had identified several new partners for collaborations for scale up. So like Dr. Datta said, this week and the next week, we'll be deliberating on social infrastructure at community level. So as per our understanding, for us, social infrastructure essentially comprises of health, skill development, housing, education, water, and sanitation. So we'll be deliberating on all these aspects. These are very much needed infrastructure that can bring the equity and inclusion. And we will all definitely agree that by creating such equity and inclusion, we can promote Atma Vishwas among the people, thus leading to Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this is all a cyclic process. So, and since we speak about equity and inclusion, next week we are having sessions mostly oriented towards creating equity and inclusion for women, Divyangjan, elderly, SC and ST through creation of relevant social infrastructure. So I request all of you to participate in those sessions also. And yesterday we heard from the knowledge institutions on creation of social infrastructure. And today we will be hearing from the community-based organizations regarding the opportunities and challenges in the sector at systemic level. So we are having 3 lead presentations, which I will be moderating, and there will be 4 panel presentations, which will be moderated by Dr. Ruba from FICCI. So before inviting the lead speaker for presentation, I would like to convey my special thanks to VP Dr. Prabhat Ranjan, Dr. Pooja, Dr. Kinkini, and then PSS office, Madam Ketki is here for their untiring efforts in coordinating this event, and also by hosting all this process on the ISTI website. Now, I would request the first speaker, Dr. Divyendu Sarkar. So, we all know Manrega is one of the flagship programs of Government of India, which provides guaranteed income to jobless rural poor. So this was one scheme that had provided livelihood opportunities and minimum wages during the current pandemic also. So it is relevant to mention here that the entire Narega system is technologically driven, though we don't know many of the works are having SNT component. So the first presentation will be on Dr. Divyendu Sarkar, on institutionalizing use of technology in Manrega, scope and challenges. So Dr. Sarkar is an IAS officer and is currently the Secretary, Panchayat and Rural Development Department, Government of West Bengal. So Dr. Sarkar was associated with rural development programs since 1986 and facilitated rural development through active engagement with panchayats and community. So now I request Dr. Sarkar to make his presentation. Dr. Sarkar.
Yeah, now I'm unmuted. Okay, fine. So, good afternoon, everybody. So, what I would try to do, am I visible? I think my camera is off. Okay, I don't think that camera is required because the presentation is there with you itself. Okay, so you can do it. I was trying to turn on my camera, so it's not coming for some reason or other. Maybe this has been centrally locked. So whatever it be, I'm audible. Okay. Yes, so what I'll try to do, what I'll try to do during this kind of 10-15 minutes to take you through some of the initiatives which the Government of West Bengal in the Panchayats and Rural Development Department, specifically in NRDGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, and the scheme, naturally, whatever we have done in relation to kind of utilization of some of the technologies in augmenting income of the rural households. So that basically will be my premises. So first of all, let me clarify that I, being an IAS officer, I'm not even a doctorate. So this is Mr. Dibyendu Sarkar. Being an IAS officer, we are mostly in the field of implementation. So far as the theoretical underpinnings of whatever we are doing or the scientific background, I will not be able to detail out. So it's not possible. In fact, in one particular instance, I was called by the CSIR Ampri, Bhopal, to be the lead speaker in their CSIR Day kind of celebration. So there also I said the same thing. I represent, I am a postgraduate in English literature, and I represent a particular program which is least technology kind of supportive or technology friendly, because this is for providing kind of opportunities to the rural households. So basically job opportunities, and this is absolutely in unskilled sector mostly. So with this background, even then we had a lot of collaborations and a lot of newer initiatives, newer grounds which we tried to do here. So I'll do that presentation. So can I have the next slide? Yeah. Why NRDGA kind of infusion of science and technology in energy is important. So that is what I was trying to kind of point out over here. This is basically, if you look at the graph in West Bengal last 1 year, say in 2018-19, we could generate as high as 33 plus crore of percentage. Percentage means mandates kind of thing. And the expenditure was also in the range of 7,000 to 8,000 crore. So with such a huge expenditure and huge involvement of the people, we needed certain kind of activities which will be more kind of asset building kind of thing. So keeping that in mind, we introduced some of the activities over here. Go to the next slide. Time is limited. I'll be rushing a little bit. So today, what I'll be the interventions that I'll be highlighting. One is some kind of a bioengineering by kind of vegetative protection in embankment, vetiver plantation. I'll be coming to that shortly. The next one will be again cost-effective, environment-friendly technology. How the fly ash generated by the power plants is being used for construction of bricks and paver blocks and things like that. So another area. The third area will be in hydrogeology, that is basically Ushar Mukti and river rejuvenation in a watershed mode. So whatever, and it's a huge story of partnership. Partnership between 7 civil organizations and the Government of West Bengal with BRLF at the core. So I'll be talking about that as well. A little bit about spring shed development in the hills. A major challenge was kind of making water available there. So water is drying out. So how our spring shed initiative there, with the help of again CSO partnership and the funding organizations, how we could be develop certain things there. And finally, some of the alternative construction technology that we are using in housing and construction of roads and things like that. So that's basically the outline of my presentation over here. So coming back to the first one, planting vetiver and mangrove to check erosion in river embankments. Vetiver, yes, it's absolutely a very soft engineering kind of intervention, because when there are kind of erosions of soil on the river embankments, and that ultimately results in flood and things like that, the irrigation and waterways department usually steps in and does a lot of activities in order to ensure that the embankments are strengthened and things like that. But unfortunately, that often doesn't pay. Two things are there. Their resources are limited. The resources might not be spent timely and things like that. So what we do usually is that from Energy, we have kind of interacted with the Vetiver Foundation of India and Vetiver International. And there is a civil society organization called GRAM, which collaborated with us. And ultimately, we brought vetiver saplings from Tamil Nadu and use those here. So practically, we started a very brief experiment, a small experiment in Hooghly in 2013-14, and then in Nodia we took it to scale. 743 kilometers of river kind of sites are being protected by using vetiver saplings, and this is now spread over 15 districts. And even the kind of initiative that we have taken, it has encouraged the irrigation and waterways department, which is usually concentrating on kind of hard engineering. They are also taking up vetiver, and the results are excellent. When we are seeing results wherever the plantations are there usually there is no breach in embankment. So that is an area which probably I thought that I'll be kind of dealing a little bit. Go to the next one. Yeah, this is another initiative. We thought that a lot of activities we do in Energy, but these are activities doesn't sustain, and a lot of kind of construction activities also we have to do. And for that, brick is one of the primary inputs. But this brick from the brick kilns, these are not these are pretty expensive, costly, and all. So what we did, we utilized some fund from, say, the Pollution Control Board and then Environment Department, and also some of the power plants. They also gave us fund, and we purchased the machines, and we utilized the energy workforce to ensure that the brick kilns, ultimately we develop those kind of bricks which can be used, the fly ash bricks which can be used in our construction, the PMAG houses and all those areas, and some paper blocks are also being done. Right now we have more than 15 running units, and even we we thought of going a little bit beyond bricks as well. Practically, as I was talking about my association with CSIR AMPRI, where they have patented a particular product which is known as kind of cement substitute, some kind of a cement substitute product. That we had a kind of technology transfer agreement with CSIR AMPRI, and we kind of took that technology. Unfortunately, I got transferred and we couldn't kind of take it through. But at the same time, this shishol, by using shishol as a wood substitute and using that cement substitute there, so these are the two areas which probably might be good, and there is still scope, because we have the kind of the transfer technology transferred from CSIR AMPRI. So this can be utilized if some organization takes lead role over here. So that is another area. Go to the next one. I'm a little bit rushing because of the time. These are basically some of the photographs of whatever we are doing there in that one. Let's go to the next one. Instead of spending our time on photographs, let me talk. Yeah, this is a very interesting and a very kind of comprehensive project that we took up in the western part of the state. We have given it the name Ushar Mukti. Ushar Mukti means kind of the salvation from barrenness. So this we did in 6 districts, 55 blocks, 472 gram panchayats spread across the entire western part of the state. Go to the next one. Next slide, please. Yeah. As I sorry. As I was talking of, this is 6 districts, 55 blocks, 472 gram panchayats, and 2,344 micro watersheds. And we are kind of treating 14 lakh hectare of area. The entire thing, the positive thing is that this is a partnership between civil society organizations. There are 7 civil society organizations which are facilitated by Bharat Rural Livelihood Foundation. You know, the government of India kind of established one umbrella organization at the national level. So they are there with their support. 7 civil society organizations, they are helping us in capacity building, in preparation of the DPR. The unique point over here is that energy is usually done in bits and pieces. Here's something, there's something, that kind of a thing. But here in this particular initiative, what we concentrated on, what we insisted on, that we'll have to have DPR first. So the entire detailed project report of a watershed, so 2,344 watersheds, the DPS were prepared, and these DPS are being implemented in a very kind of systematic manner. So the civil society organizations are contributing. Some of the KVKs are contributing, Krishi Vigyan Kendros. They are also kind of giving us the kind of the Bidhan Chandra Krishi Vishwavidyalaya, the Agriculture University of the state. They are also helping us in a lot of activities over here. And ultimately, the entire western part, which is kind of rain-fed, kind of erosion of soil and all. So those are being addressed by using this. And ultimately, as a result of the entire initiative, what we are actually looking at is a rejuvenation of 7 rivers over there. This is a river system there. There's a basin. And so Ajay, Moirakshi, Damodar, Kashai, Shilapati, Dharakeshwar, Subarnarekha, all these river systems are being rejuvenated over there. Okay, go to the next slide. I'm just giving you the points, and maybe we might be discussing those later on somehow or other. So this is basically another initiative we did. This is spring shed development. Go to the next one. Go straight. Yeah, this is basically the area. Yes, spring shed development is another area where we concentrated. You know, the entire hills in the east and kind of in West Bengal and the entire northeastern hills, and even in the central hills as well. Water is a major problem, and that water is a major problem only because of the fact that the perpetual springs, the perennial springs, these are dying. So how to address that? People used to fetch water earlier very close to their homestead, but later on, due to kind of dying of springs, they have to go travel 3-4 kilometers. So that kind of a situation we had to face. So in that situation, how to tackle that Darjeeling water crisis? There are a lot of papers on that. It's not possible for me within this short span of time to go into those details. But what I'm saying is that the Darjeeling kind of water crisis, Kalimpong water crisis, this can positively be addressed if we do some kind of a hydrogeological interventions. This is a little bit different from watershed because in watershed we work from ridge to valley, but here we are not working from ridge to valley as such, because water are spring. Usually there might be a discharge point which is upper than the recharge point, which is at a lower ridge. So that kind of things also happen. So practically what happened, our DST also, our Department of Science and Technology, they helped us in identifying the springs and that discharge, kind of recharge points. And also we took help, again, BRLF was the lead partner, and BRLF brought a local NGO called Prasar and a couple of very strong civil society organizations which have very good kind of work here throughout the country. These are Orgam. Orgam is basically mostly a funding organization, but Orgam was there, and especially this was Aquadam. Professor Kulkarni was associated with Kulkarni of IIT Mumbai, probably. He was associated with the entire kind of initiative. So he is still associated. So that is another area which is practically, we have seen that incremental discharge. The discharge has kind of 30 to 50% increment in discharge from the springs could be noticed in 475 springs. This is huge. We learned from an experiment in Sikkim where they did Dhara Vikash. So that Dhara Vikash was a kind of starting point, but where Sikkim did in less than 100 springs, we could reach out to we could implement the entire project in 475 springs. So that is another area which probably needs some kind of collaboration and all. So we are working there. Next. Okay. Go on. It's not required. This is a photograph. Yes, a little bit, a very kind of brief kind of on innovation in construction technology, in roads we are doing, in bridges we are doing, in houses we are doing. So go to the next slide. Just a little bit of explanation on this. This is basically folded technology. So how this folded technology can help in retaining, in developing retaining structures as well as walls and all those things. So that we have experimented on road, that we have experimented on embankments and on roadside kind of things. So go to the next one. Yes, this folded plate application was there. And burned clay brick hollow piers on common shallow foundation. That is also, we experimented in bridges. So another area. Go to the next one. I'm just showing you some of the pictures. Okay. Yes. This is again efficient guide band and spars. Those are being developed by using the same construction technology. And probably the last one. Go to the next one. Yes, no. So we'll have another. So this is basically wing pavement road. This we have done in a factory. Basically, it's not factory, but what I'm saying is that in a factory setting you can do it, and you can carry those there on the road and just place. So that kind of a technology we also tried in Murshidabad district of the state. So that is another age. Oh, sorry, Dakhin Dinajpur district. Okay, go on to the master. Yes. Alternative environment-friendly technology in house construction. What we did, that a roof with filler slabs, wall with rat trap bonds, and filler slabs on rooftop as well. So all these kind of initiatives ultimately helped us in saving in bricks, in cement, in steel. And since we saved in cement and steel positively, we to a certain extent have been able to save in environment as well.
Sir,
yeah, I know.
Please conclude in 2 more minutes.
Yeah. Yes. It will be less than 2 minutes. So basically, this is the presentation. I would like to talk about say in a minute. I'd like to talk about the future kind of opportunities. First of all, online training. Yes, this is an area where the CSOs can also participate. Some of the individuals can also participate. And I right now I'm heading the State Institute of Panchayat and Rural Development, BRIPAD. It's known as the director. So we can people can use that. We have also some kind of an LMS platform, learning management system, so that can be done. Hydroponics has got good opportunities in energy, so that can be experimented somewhere. We did some experiments, but it's not usually in hydroponics. Technology is very kind of cornered by certain individuals. They don't they sell their products, but they don't kind of disclose the technologies. Aquaponics is another area. Shishol as a wood substitute, as we have talked of, cement substitute, and CMERI Durgapur, we had some collaboration with in waste management, biogas, and also they are doing hand washing stations and things like that. So these are some of the areas which can positively be thought of, be taken forward further. Thank you very much. I close over here.
Thank you very much, sir, for emphasizing the role of SNT in Manrega and how technology has been used in all these programs which you had mentioned. So I'm having some questions which I will come later. Now
Gopi, I have one suggestion here.
Yes, sir.
Hello. It was a very well conceived presentation. Sir, you have mentioned about the use of vetiver, that grass as a soil binder in your presentation. So we suggest you also, if you can see the possibilities of using the vetiver grass in making some value-added packaging material, because that effort has been done in some of our programs. And there is one group, Pyramid Development Society in Kerala. So they are trained and they are engaging the women self-help groups in making use of that vetiver grass leaves in making the value-added product as a packaging material like basket with cover, etc. So those are giving the livelihood options to the local communities.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the suggestion. Just kind of a response, a quick response. We sent a team, say 30 women, self-help group members to Puducherry to learn about this, and they are doing it. Okay. So some experimentation on that is also going on. From Puducherry, they have been trained.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we all know PHCs were an important constraint of rural health infrastructure to provide an integrated, curative, and preventive healthcare. So a majority of 700 million people live in the rural areas, and thus there is a need for promoting strong STI-based approach in the rural health systems. Now I'm having my next presentation from Dr. Sabdal Saha. The topic is primary healthcare infrastructure, role of STI issues and challenges. So Dr. Saha, can you please make the presentation?
Sure, sure. First of all, I would like to thank the Office of the PSA, the Seed Division of Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, specifically Dr. Datta and Dr. Puri for the constant encouragement they have given us over the last 2 years during the COVID time and even afterwards. And in the next 15 minutes or so, I will be describing an evolutionary real-life story of various technologies for last mile primary care and public health. But I want to establish the context first. Next, please. What motivated us? Miss Anu, at the age of 52, requires lifelong dialysis. She is one of the 77 million diabetics in India, having been detected at the age of 32 years. And she suffered from recurrent urinary tract infection, as a result of which she now has end-stage renal disease. And in India, about 152 people per million is suffering from end-stage renal disease. Diabetes today is a public health emergency. There is no urban-rural divide. More and more younger people are affected, leading to significant loss of disability-adjusted life years and killing the society. And economically, it has a huge cost. It exhausts between 5 and 25% of the average household earning in terms of its management. That having been said, it was so easy. Early detection and better blood sugar control, these are the two things that would have prevented all of these complications. And that didn't happen because Anu became a victim of the systemic failure in access, technology, and affordability. So if we look at the disease management algorithm, which starts with education prevention, ends at institutional treatment, and goes through the 3 phases of screening and early detection, symptomatic diagnosis, and advanced diagnostics. Currently in India, we are focusing on the symptomatic diagnosis, advanced diagnostics, and institutional treatment. This presentation has been converted into a PDF form, so I can't show you the animations. What we need to happen is the red ellipse need to shift left into education prevention, screen and detect early, and symptomatic diagnosis. And only if that happens, only if that shift happens, we will see improvement in societal health and productivity, escape from health-related poverty, and achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Next, please. So what was our Dr. Gopi Krishna? This has a lot of covered parts, and unfortunately, is it possible to either for me to upload the slides or the slides that I had originally sent? Because in the PDF, as you can see, there's a large white part where there was a lot of text.
Yeah,
Is it
you
possible?
can upload you can upload your slides if something is missing in this PDF.
Let me try. But then the uploading capability is actually off. On my screen, when it says become the presenter to start sharing your screen. Okay.
Yeah, we'll give you the access, sir. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Pooja to give the access. Thank you.
Am I visible now? Are the slides visible now?
No, they are not visible. Yeah, now they are visible.
It just come
They're
up
visible,
here.
right? Okay. This is what I was referring to. Anyway, to move to the next one. So talking about problems is not going to lead us anywhere. What was the solution hypothesis? And that hypothesis had technology at the centerpiece. There are many reasons, but we identified the reasons that we can address. And those were 80% of medical practitioners in rural India are untrained providers, which in a sniggering manner, we call them quacks. The conventional diagnostic and therapeutic technologies have a limitation in rural applicability, both in terms of cost and in terms of the operating conditions and the skill levels that are required to operate them. Implementing a rural healthcare delivery system is a big challenge. Its sustainability is an even more challenge. So we thought of solutions across each of these reasons. We will be shifting tasks that a doctor manually does to trained rural youth, leaving the brain behind. And this will have collateral benefits in terms of employability, women empowerment, and health sector development, because there's a huge shortage of trained people in the healthcare industry. In terms of technology limitation, we decided that we need to create a new framework for innovation of frugal, easy to use, both ICT and diagnostic and therapeutic technologies. We will come to this framework in the next slide. For implementation, we felt that integration of the stakeholder right from the beginning, following a lean startup model and understanding the medical, social, anthropological behavior, these three things are very important to have a smooth implementation. As for sustainability, we decided to create locally owned enterprises. And it's a myth that the poor will not pay. It's a question of giving the right service that meets the specific needs in the right environment within the paying capacity, which is why we focused on value entitlement, a term coined by Dr. Amartya Sen, and not just service delivery. We concluded that we will use 3 T's. We will train, we will provide technology, and we will treat. And that led to the final hypothesis that if we can empower trained local women with the decision support system software and frugal diagnostic technologies, supported by a team of real back-end remote doctors, we will be able to deliver service in the form of primary care, create capacity in the community in terms of public health systems, and both sustain and scale it. At this stage, let me just walk you through the translational technology innovation 4-point journey that we envisaged, which is very different from a blue sky innovation that the science and technology institutes in India mostly do. The first challenge is, what is the problem that I'm going to solve and why it is necessary to solve this? This can only be understood if there is significant field immersion and need identification even before the science has been thought of. Once we understand the need, we decide what science will I use to solve it, what is new about the science, and is my science accurate enough? In other words, the fact that I'm developing a frugal technology does not necessarily mean it needs to be basic science or cheap science. The science should be deep. But the most important thing comes next, the design ethnography and early stakeholder involvement. Technology is the vehicle of science. So once we decide the need and decide the science, we need to ask ourselves, what are the boundary conditions of the application of this technology? Environment, user skill, resource availability, cost, etc. It is understanding of the boundary conditions that determine what technology I will use in terms of assay, detection, limits of detection, ease of use, the reader device, etc. And how it should be designed, what will create user delight, what will create easy storage, what will create easy maintenance. And we believe that a rapid prototyping should be done, and it should be taken to the field as early as possible so that we can then follow iterative development through multiple field validation studies using the stakeholder. And at this stage, we decided to involve the MSMEs so that appropriate certification, commercialization, and go-to-market strategies can work. Now, in India, unfortunately, I am part of IIT Kharagpur, but I must say, we scored low in field studies. We scored very high. We have brilliant, intelligent minds in science and technology. We scored low in design thinking. In terms of lean startup, yes, in India, we are changing through various interventions. I mean, even in my own institute at IIT Kharagpur, I see so many healthcare technologies developed by bright young scientists which are failing to meet the market need because they never tried to understand the market first. They were satisfying their own scientific quest and papers and publications, which is important. So now let's come to the specific context of the primary care and public health. And I quote here that over 90% of the reasons why a person consults a general practitioner is a simple primary care solution. And if we look at the diagnosis algorithm, how does the patient get diagnosed? We take the patient's history, then we examine the person physically, then we undertake basic tests, and then we do advanced tests. When we talk about primary care, a good history constitutes 60% of the diagnosis. Basic physical examination and basic tests will constitute 30% of the diagnosis. Advanced tests are required only in 10% of the situations in the context of primary care. This is how we identified the need and identified the problem. Because our doctor is at the back end, the fundamental to a successful digital primary care would be a good history taken at the front end from the patient by the community health worker. But how does she take history? She may be trained. She is trained through an NSQF level, NSDC certified model, but at the end of the day, she's only a health worker. She's not a doctor. That's when the need for the software came up, and a decision support software is the enabler of the history. How does the woman sitting on the left side transmit the history to the woman sitting on the, sitting on the right side, transmit the history to the woman sitting on the left side, with the left-sided woman being a health worker and not a doctor? And the software was going to solve that problem and establish meaningful communication between the community health worker at the front end and the real doctor at the back end, which will save the doctor's time, eliminates travel and inconvenience stay, enables spouse employment in cities and children's education. Something that
please conclude in 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure. So the software used the scientific principle where a patient's complaint will be deconstructed through multiple sets of questions. These responses will then be coupled with the examination findings and diagnostic tests, and then the doctor will make the diagnosis from the data that the health worker has transmitted. That led us to the design thinking of the software, and because of early stakeholder involvement, 9 specific improvements were carried out. Health workers they are all class 10 pass candidates. The user interfaces need to be very simple and have simple questions. The language was a major problem because medicines written in English, patients don't understand. Doctors are generally not familiar with vernacular language, and therefore, how do we create bilingual prescriptions and a multilingual software? Spelling. If you ask a health worker to write the patient's problem, this is what I found one day. The patient's complaint was NIPAIN. I didn't understand. Then I found out the patient complained of knee pain. The health worker wrote NIPAIN. They cannot construct sentences, as limited understanding of complex questions. So we used only drop down and check boxes. And then the dialect. Pain in English is mild, moderate, and severe. No patient says, I have mild pain or I have severe pain. Patients say, pain is dop-dop or tosh-tosh or mish-mish in Bengali dialect. Each of them means. So how do we create the dialectical, address the dialectical issues? The copying of values, how do we integrate devices? Bandwidths are frequently fail, slow speed. So how does it operate at 2G speed and create internet fail-safe solutions, etc.? And it took us almost 2 years, along with a team of engineers from Hopkins, to be able to address these design thinking issues, which led to the clinical software. And I will skip the screenshots for the sake of brevity and speed. I'll just show you how these are used. And that led to development of the digital e-health clinic supported by SID. We call it Uday, means the rising, and the byline is Shokate Daktar, meaning doctor at your doorstep. And today we exist from the sea. This is at our first clinic at Sundarban Bay of Bengal to our last clinic that we set up at Supi in Uttarakhand. And we are expanding across Bengal, Assam, Gujarat, and Uttarakhand. So this is what the inside of the clinic looks like. You can see the trained health workers. We also use health workers on a house of each village
Hello, yeah. Hello. I think his voice is gone. Yeah. Dr. Shah, your voice is gone. Yeah. You have got muted. Yeah.
Same will be done and sent from sir's side. तो कल भिजवा देंगे इसको और कल या कब भिजवाएंगे? मेरे कल तो छुट्टी है.
Please, you know that
Vigyan
Prasar.
Yeah, is it okay now? Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a user fee for every service, and we have already established a revenue stream across the 8 clinics that you have in West Bengal now. These are the charges, and patients very happily pay them. And if you see, ECG we do at 75 rupees, which a patient would spend between 200 to 250 rupees to get it done, including the travel cost. The standalone clinic breaks even at 9 patients a day. When we include the back-end expenses like doctor's salary, management cost, it breaks even at 15 patients a day, which is not a huge target. Although critical challenges remain about how to stimulate entrepreneurship among rural youth, how to induce behavior change communication through strong communication systems among the community, and how do we bring more and more diagnostic technologies. And the new gains include all these clinics remained open during the entire lockdown period. They undertook preparation of hand sanitizer, face masks, and we have introduced 2 new frugal technologies developed by IIT Kharagpur by my team in terms of low-cost detection of hemoglobin and low-cost detection of plasma glucose. We will skip this slide because this is the design ethnography we followed for the development of diagnostic technologies. This is how the history taking takes place. This is how we have trained them in using various clinical skill sets in terms of finger prick blood draw. And all the photographs that we have shown on the videos are real life photographs. They're all taken from our clinics. And these are all girls that you see, they're all class 10 pass outs who have been trained in an NSTC certified center at NSQF level 3 as frontline health workers. This is how we train them in somewhat advanced micropipetting and other techniques so that they can use healthcare technologies. This is how we train them. So to summarize, we are keen and open to collaborate with state, central governments, CSR projects, and voluntary organizations all over India. This is an ideal model for health and wellness clinics that our Honorable Prime Minister has proposed. Our only requirements are that the training must be NSQF linked. The EHR-based digital healthcare delivery has been approved in May 2020 in the Gazette of India as an effective means of healthcare delivery. Our current collaborators include IIT Guwahati, Village Based Charitable Trust at Uttarakhand, and Jan Vikas Trust in Gujarat. Although further support will be needed for further development of the software system and a larger scale single state model for establishing the business case. This is the team who have made all of this possible. Thank you very much. Hello?
Thank you,
Hello?
Dr. Saha.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saha, for a very elaborate presentation on how technology can create capacity in the communities and cater to the healthcare needs of rural people, along with the creation of knowledge and employment. Now we can move to the next presentation, which is on sustainable housing by Dr. G. Shankar, Habitat Technology Group. So Dr. Shankar is the founder chairman of this Habitat Technology Group, which has been relentlessly engaged in bringing about social development through architecture. So now I request Dr. Shankar to present his presentation. Dr. Shankar?
Yeah, thank you very much for the august opportunity given to me. You have heard 2 presentations, one from a senior bureaucrat from West Bengal, an academician, I actually belong to a completely different domain. I belong to a non-profit, not-for-profit organization called Habitat Technology Group, which is arguably the largest non-profit organization working in the shelter sector, in sustainable architecture section, probably in Asia. We are actually in consultative status with several organizations, including United Nations, UNEP, World Bank, and the rest of it. We work in tandem with the national government and several state governments. The idea is to actually promote what we call as people-centered, value-based architecture, sustainable architecture in short. We have there was a template which was shared by the organizers talking about 10 slides, which I have to probably finish in 15 minutes. So I will stick to that template. The first slide was about explaining the kind of organization I belong to. We have 5-point thrust areas. One is we train people from architects to artisans and to school children. It is a large informal school of housing that have been going on, not only to these kind of people, but also to the decision makers. That includes politicians, that includes bureaucrats, and multi-level, multi-dimensional training programs, hands-on training for engineering students, and various levels of training. Second activity where we are very active is information dissemination. For instance, we have been very active in the disaster mitigation sector across the world, and every time we come out of these disasters, we come out with very relevant literature on how sustainable can be the resettlement and rehabilitation policy. It's all about. I'm just talking about disaster mitigation. Likewise, in vernacular languages, I belong to Kerala. In Malayalam, we have produced extensive series of booklets on how to do cost-effective, eco-sensitive, and energy-friendly technologies, materials, how to showcase them, and how to take this technology forward to make probably people more aware, to demystify the technology so that it actually gets more people-centered. We have a huge consultancy cell, and we have done probably the largest spectrum of buildings, cost-effective buildings in the world, talking about 150,000 individual buildings and more than 500,000 mass housing units, again, across the world. We have a large production center that talks about, again, very sustainable building materials like mud blocks. We have a huge bamboo initiative. We have lime production center. The focus is on locally available, cost-effective, energy-efficient building materials and technology. We have a large presence. We have a pan-India presence. We have projects abroad with 34 offices. This is one of the largest NGOs. Talking about 400 architects and engineers coming together with a support base of 40,000 trained habitat workers. That's the profile of the organization. And can I go to the next slide, please? Quick. The next this thing is about the background and need for housing. I should tell you that housing is one sector that has been neglected over the years. And I got several statistics to prove that. We had to wait till 8 5-year plan to really get a focus on 5-year plans to reflect our aspirations. That's our dream blueprint for development. And we had to wait for 8 5-year plan. 40 years after the first 5-year plan began, 40 years after late 1950s, between late 1990s, for the first time, Indian planners who prepared the 5-year plans recognize the promise and potential of housing and the problem behind that. And by that time, although we achieved self-reliance in other sectors like food and clothing, our housing problem became so big that no government can actually address it properly. The numbers are quite staggering. We in the social development sector, in the NGO sector, we sometimes, we have a different take of this thing on census enumerations. The indicators, we have a huge problem with the indicators that are actually used for, talking about. There's no indicator talking about the adequacy of housing, which is a world agenda now, habitat agenda. There's no indicator on that. And using that indicator, we believe that there are many, many millions in this country who are without proper shelter. So, and on the other hand, sustainability is very badly compromised in the housing sector. And as a fraternity, we should put our gets down in shame because architects and engineers are primarily responsible for the climate change. I say primarily responsible for the climate change because undesirable, unsustainable practices in construction, I mean, they create such havoc in the built-up environment. Habitat, I mean, we are talking about engineers and architects, we are responsible for the built-up environment, and hence sustainability is very badly compromised in the housing sector. And that itself is a case to argue, you know, why sustainable housing should be encouraged, what is sustainable housing all about, and how sustainability should be. Let me tell you this. I mean, we are talking about connectivities and linkages, and it's a huge dream. I share that dream. Atmandarpar is a Malayalam term too, you know, when you look at it. It builds up, it's music to people like me because eventually we find a kind of spiritual element in the whole thing, you know. We create habitats for, not really for happiness, but for peace. And Atmandarpar actually talks about that. And if you can actually formulate, strategize movements which are people-centered. We talk endlessly about people-centered strategies, but it never happens. Whatever we have done over the last 3 decades, having completely people-centered. I've got several projects to tell you. I don't have time today. You know, the 50,000 house project that was taken up in Sri Lanka after the civil war was over. Another 50,000 houses that were taken after, you know, the tsunami struck Sri Lanka. I mean, there was a huge strategy that was employed. It became an international model of development. Everything was people-centered and done by government of India. And that, I think, is important. We believe that all the housing, this thing, sustainable housing, whatever you talk about, has to be based on values. That is the spirituality part of it. I mean, it has to be based on truthfulness, honesty, and, you know, I believe that local is the mantra. It was our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, who said, you know, huge relevance in the present times that you have to build with whatever resources that you get within 5-kilometer radius of the site, which is what I call as value-based architecture, which has got huge connotations in times to come. And unless your strategies are community-based, I don't think, you know, the whole process will be taken, you know. It's people-centered, and if it's community-based, the technology we are talking about, probably some of it are all controversial. People will talk about the durability and the life of the building, the strength of the materials, things like that. But if the community is made aware that this is the probability, this is the, so the whole idea should be to sustain traditional knowledge and ideas. I'll come to that a little later. It's about local mantras. Local should be the mantra, you know, local materials, local technology, local capabilities, local skills, and the rest of it. So local should be the mantra. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And what are the materials that we are trying to promote? Let me tell you with such pride that we have built the largest building complex in the world, talking about 600,000 square feet in the neighboring country, Bangladesh, 600,000 square feet completely made of earth. Earth is always considered as a poor man's building material. Last 20 years, we have been building only with earth. I mean, multi-story building. My own office building is a 6-story building. We're actually scaling it up. I mean, when you talk about mud 4 buildings, mud 4 houses, people think that it's a poor man's building materials. These kind of material, local materials, can be only used for, you know, poor people, dispossessed people, marginalized people, and the rest of it. All all these notions will have been blown away by scaling it up. Replicability, scalability, these should be the mantras now. And we are concentrating on earth. We do it in all kinds of forms, wetland, construction. I don't want to go into details because most of you are not really the technical people, civil engineers. So I'll just make it short. Earth can be used wherever. I mean, you can surpass the engineering properties of most of the building materials that you use for walling material, roofing material. We are actually scaling it up, not only for foundation. It is normally used for walling material. We are actually using it for roofing material and the rest of it. Can I continue? Can I continue? Bamboo is another area where we are actually doing a lot of things. Bamboo is another area where we are doing lime. You know, Kerala has one of the richest lime deposits in the world. So we are using lime instead of cement. We are trying to optimize the use of cement.
Dr. Shankar, can you please conclude in 2 more minutes?
Yeah, I mean, lime and this thing. 2 minutes for me? Okay. I will cut it short. Go to the next slide, please. Go to the next slide. These are the kind of houses that we build. I mean, in bamboo, we have a huge bamboo-related initiative talking about a lot of technologies and things like that. Go ahead, please. Habitat is called training center. We have got women's initiative centers. We have got large-scale training. We are into research and development and things like that, all related to sustainable building materials and technologies in an informal way. I mean, ours is a non-profit organization. We have linkages with R&D institutions. We have linkages with governments and the rest of it. Yeah, go ahead. And when you talk about housing, we have a notion that, poor man's housing, dispossessed people's housing will have to look not acceptable. I mean, if you can, the house that you see on the left below, it's a mud house. The roof is, I mean, if you can showcase it using an architectural vocabulary which is pleasing, I think there'll be many takers for that. Aesthetics cannot be compromised, not in terms of cost and things like that. I mean, we never compromise and cost and other elements of sustainability, but all said and done, if we can showcase it well, poor people, dispossessed people living in the margins also can have very beautiful houses using this technology. Go ahead, please. And we are talking about, I don't want to dwell at length. I mean, we are in I told you about the information dissemination, huge international conferences, national conferences, state level conferences, holding hands with people, community workshops, publishing of booklets, and holding hands with people. I mean, this has been a daily activity for Habitat, even during pandemic times, And I think this is a very important part of our activities, because information dissemination, especially when you talk about these kind of technology, a lot of questions about durability, strength, etc., will come, and we are here to sort of do this kind of information dissemination in terms of publishing small little booklets in local language, vernacular languages, using vernacular idioms and things like that. And I think this will go a very long way in reinforcement of the technologies. Go ahead. And I don't want to go. I mean, we don't accept in technologies which are not cost effective. We don't accept anything which is not sensitive. We don't accept anything which is economically not feasible. So there is a social cost, and we believe in that. I don't want to cut down cost on social processes. I don't want to cut down cost on laborers. We cut down cost on usage of waste materials and the rest of it, and everything has to be based on local and traditional idioms. Go ahead, please. And I'll conclude with this. What are the challenges that are in front of you? One is scaling up. Delivery is an issue. In the name of cost-effective, low-cost houses that have delivered, people have compromised very heavily on the quality. The quantity always surpasses the qualities, and especially government-sponsored schemes. And once the quality took this thing, obviously the delivery became a huge issue. The whole name actually got stuck. The whole spirit of the movement actually got a bad name. It really got damaged. And that is a big challenge that we have to overcome. I mean, that's why we changed the name from low cost to cost effective things. We have to probably talk about optimization and things like that in the future. And readiness, I mean, it talks about efficiency, material cost, etc. There are certain kind of certification, validation that will come at the national level. We were very successful in getting into the building manuals in Kerala as early as 1970s, where we actually got in several inclusions in the national thing. We had been working with a lot of research institutes at the national level, CBRI, to get some of the validations done. Dr. Divendra Sarkar was talking about rat trap. These were actually all our initiatives, which actually got reflected even in national this thing. Bamboo is being scaled. Final this thing is, I mean, if you want to scale it up, if you are talking about activities and linkages, we have to upscale the technology, update the technology, make it available, make it more simple. Simplicity should be the word. Local should be the mantra. And replication at that level will really help to scale up our dream of sustainable housing for millions. I think I will stop at this because, I mean, the host is continuing to remind me of the shortage of time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the time given.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Shankar, for giving an elaborate presentation on the importance of sustainability in the built-up environment and sustainable building materials and challenges in the sustainable housing. Now I request Mr. Rubab to kindly coordinate the panel discussions. Dr. Rubab, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gopi. I feel overwhelmed, listening to these three eminent speakers talking on such important subjects. And I think starting from Dr. Sarkar, who spoke about the government of West Bengal's initiatives under the Manrega, some phenomenal work being done, although as science and technology as role was limited to a certain extent, but then the sort of impact they've had on ground is phenomenal, followed by IIT Kharagpur's presentation by Dr. Saha. Again, path-breaking work being done. And last but not the least, Dr. Shankar, national hero. The sort of work you've done in the space of housing is really remarkable, and we are proud of you. Thank you so much, all the three lead speakers. Moving on, thank you so much for sticking to the time limits, the lead speakers, and I expect the same from our panel discussion speakers as well, the panelists. We would start with a very important subject, the remote sensing and geoinformation system, RS and GIS, a very important combination in development sector. RS and GIS for sustainable social infrastructure development. The presentation will be made by Mr. Ansuman Chakraborty, who's the Chief Scientific Officer of Prantik Care the Earth. I'm really looking forward to this very interesting presentation. Over to you, Dr. Chakraborty. Mr. Chakraborty, can you have your presentation on the screen?
My presentation is visible.
Yes, the presentation is visible.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Okay.
Yes. You've got 10 minutes, Dr. Chakraborty. Over to you.
Okay, sure. So good afternoon, everyone. In the very onset, I would like to express my sincere thanks and regards to the SEED Division of Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, for giving me the opportunity to speak in this august occasion. And as all of you know that I belong from Prantik Care the Earth. Basically, it is a non-governmental organization that is working in the fields of remote sensing, geographical information system, survey engineering, and information technology. So to introduce myself, I am working as the Chief Scientific Officer of this organization. I have been associated with this organization since 2014 onwards. And next slide, please. Next slide. So as you can see, the details of the office, I will not go into the elaborate details because everything is visible on the screen. Next slide. Next slide. May I go into the next slide? Yes, as you can see that Prantik Care the Earth is basically an organization that is working in the fields of remote sensing, GIS, IT, and survey. We are basically registered under the Government of West Bengal, Register of Societies. We have the registration number of S by 1L by 89219 of 2011 and 12. And our basic works includes training in the field of geographical information system. The previous slide. Actually, I need the previous slide. You have gone a bit advanced. So as I'm telling, the basic works of our organization includes training in the fields of remote sensing, GIS, and survey engineering, basically. And along with that, we also offer consultancy service to the government in these respective federals. Because I
Mr. Chakrabarti, we can't hear you.
We seem to have lost him.
Yes, I think he's speaking. Mr. Chakrabarti, can you please unmute your mic, please? I think accidentally it has gone on mute. Mr. Chakrabarti, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Now, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are loud and clear. Yes, please go on.
Yes. In the beginning of the presentation, as you can see in this slide, this is the map of the land use plan cover map of the Prantik Township and adjoining area that is being prepared by our GIS experts or the GIS executives who are deputed in the office, which shows the respective location of our office. And in the right hand side, you can see the respective team of Prantik Care the Earth, that is the human resource team. This photograph was taken during one of our flagship program mission in this particular year. That is the Clean Prantik, Green Prantik. So I would like to go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. So the basic activity of our organization includes providing training in the field of remote sensing and GIS to the students who basically belong to the rural agrarian environment or from the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe background. From 2014 onwards to till date, we have trained more than 150 students in the field of the land surveying. That is, we have offered them with the certificate course or the diploma level education. While on the other hand, in terms of this remote sensing and GIS technology, there has been more than 20 students who have
Mr. Chakrabarti, we've lost your voice again. Can you please try and unmute your mic if at all it is muted? Sorry, but we've lost your voice, Mr. Chakrabarti. I think we are facing some technical issue at Mr. Chakrabarti's end.
Dr. Rubab, we are trying to call him just to see what is the issue.
Okay, Dr. Malik, thank you. So I think now they've signed out and they must be trying to sign back in. There must be some technical issue back at their end.
Yeah, but it's, can you see the slides moving? Because we are still at the background of the introduction and we can't hear you at all.
Can I request colleagues at Vigyan Prasar to please move the slides, please? Move the slides forward, because, yeah, it's moving now. Yes, it's moving.
Yes,
Right.
it's no, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. So I don't know if you would like to.
In the meantime, can we take up the next presentation? We can call him back and we can ask him to present again.
We can start from here when he
Yeah,
comes
I
back.
think we can do that.
I think. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, apologies for this technical glitch. But moving on, I think we'd rather save time if we have Dr. Chakrabarty's presentation later on when he's back. So meanwhile, I'll request Dr. Gaurav Mishra. Dr. Gaurav Mishra, are you okay with this change? Can you? Are you?
Yeah, not an issue. I'm available here, so I can pick up this thing.
So Dr. Gaurav Mishra represents the Sardar Patel Renewable Energy Research Institute, a renowned, well-known institute working, at great levels in Gujarat, creating impact where it is needed the most. He would be talking on STI Hub for Tribals in Gujarat, a great initiative of Government of India, and we look forward to your presentation, Dr. Mishra. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Awab. And I think I'm audible enough, to just please confirm me.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Datta and the complete SEEK team and DST team for keeping a trust on SPRARI and their activities and the efforts which we are trying to bring it in the rural and tribal areas of Gujarat and other parts of our country. I'll run through our presentation, which is primarily on STI Hub, which is Science, Technology and Innovation Hub, which is particularly for the tribal communities in Gujarat, which we have initiated recently. And can you next slide, please? So about the institute, SPRARI, which is Sardar Patel Renewable Energy Research Institute, we are actually a not-for-profit autonomous organization and registered as a society. And we are one of the oldest and premium-most institute, I should say, which got established in 1979, and particularly working on the lines for developing technologies under the renewable energy sector. So we are based at Gujarat, particularly Anand Vallabh Vidyanagar, and our sectoral area, which because SPRARI, we have primarily 4 main divisions, which takes care of my solar based research activities, particularly for PV and thermal. Then we have a biomass conversion technology group and all. Then we have thermochemical conversion, and finally we have outreach extension activities, the division which whatever the technologies which we develop at SPRARI or we adopt from outside, we take it to the fields and to the needy people at the grassroots level. We have a good, highly qualified research team with a multidisciplinary background. So that's a very brief about this organization. Now, next slide, please. Coming to the background of about the project when we talk about, so this project primarily aims to address the project which we are talking about is creating this STI hub for the tribals in Gujarat. So this project aims to address the issues of drudgery, migration, economic status of rural tribe communities in Gujarat, and majorly focuses on entrepreneurship thinking for the sustainability part, because this is the crux of the activity which we will be getting into. And under the project, we will actually be looking for the assessment of the local and natural resources for sustainable livelihood planning. Then we will be focusing on the capacity building by imparting extensive training to the identified people from the different 4 districts which we have finalized under the project. And those people will be trained on the identified technologies, how the business aspects can be brought up, and whatever the skills they have, the traditional skills, we will be helping them to upgrade to the another level through the inclusion of the scientific knowledge actually from our side. Then we will be actually focusing also on the selection of location-specific technology mix, and complete customized technology packages. So under the project, we are not only talking about introducing something which Sprayry had developed, the technologies and all. We will be actually working back to back with the communities, local communities, what kind of a traditional knowledge they have, and whatever the scientific knowledge we have. So can we amalgamate that and come out with the complete package and taking to the fields? That's the kind of activity which is envisaged under the project. And then finally, the demonstration, promotion, and the replication and scale up of successful technology leading to the socio-economic empowerment. We do believe this because it looks, this word empowerment, it's a small word, but practically speaking, it requires years of efforts from everyone who understands this, the importance of this word. And finally, we will be helping in creating the enterprises and provide a single window platform for the linkages with the industries and other institutions and outreach for the sustainable business. Next, please. So under the project, we have finalized we have chosen 4 main districts like the Dangs, Tapi, Narmada, and Chota Udaipur, because this project was primarily focusing on the scheduled tribe communities. So the idea was like how we will, what is the selection criteria of these districts under the Gujarat. So we have chosen like these districts based on the percentage of the ST communities under these districts, as well as the Human Development Index ranking of the districts across Gujarat. So the red color, if you see, the lower the rank shows the lower the development part. Higher the rank, which is more the green side, means the higher the development of those districts. So we are only focusing on the red portions, and that too with a higher percentage of the ST communities in those districts. Next, please. So now the proposed interventions which we have proposed under the project, they are like we have listed out. And the best part, what I can say is like we have been like working, we have been supported in fact by the DST core support program, which is coordinated by Dr. Sunil Agrawal from the C division. And we are very thankful to him and this complete C division, because of which the kind of a learning we have developed over a period of a time, so and helped in developing these set of technologies. So these technologies we will be taking to the fields, and will try to create some delta improvement in the lives of the people of these ST communities. Next, please. So now the question comes, on what basis we are proposing these interventions. So when we went to the field, so we realized that when for the people, for the farmers and all the fruits and vegetable produces which they generate actually. So we all know that like around 30 to 40% of the fruit and vegetable produces gets rotten in the field. They don't get proper processing kind of a thing, which so that they can earn, and the shelf life of these produces can be increased. So we saw that they are actually drying to some extent under the open sun, and the rest of the things it gets rotten in the field. So that was the trigger point for us to thought of like introducing the kind of solar PV integrated solar dryers, solar tunnel dryers actually on the community scale as well as for the individual level. Both we are talking about. So these are the like grid-free kind of a system. So this will be taken to the field and for the small and marginal farmers, so that they can dry their produces and can increase the shelf life and can like fetch a good amount of the revenues for their against their products. Second, please. The team, when they also went to these districts, they also realized that there are other issues, like when they talk about, because these are small villages, small households and all, so the people are still relying for the electricity. They don't have the complete the connections and all, and irregular connections, and also they are relying the kerosene lamps still. So the idea of the solar microdome, which is actually adopted from NBIRT, and other solar lights, so that can be like taken to the field, so that the basic amenities of a lighting can be like provided to these people. And we have also found that still at the grassroots level, at the these households, they still use the C-type mud chulas and all, which creates a lot of the emissions, and the efficiency is very less. So the kind of the system which we have developed improved biomass cook stoves, which is at a cost of like 1,500 rupees. And these kind of systems will be introduced on the individual household level, and as well as for the small like bulk kitchens or small commercial activities as well, that can be like proposed. Then we have a portable biogas plants. That's also because they have some the bovines available with them, so that whatever the cow dung they have can be like utilized for the biogas plants and can be used for on the individual as well as for the community level as well. Next, please. Then they have been like doing using the traditional methods of making biochar. So we will be introducing something like on the scientific side, what the biochar production, the yield can be improved, the quality of a biochar can be improved. We will be working on that. They still use the bore wells with the water which is not very clean water. So we will be actually introducing solar cells or like a solar PV based water purifiers. And when we talk about the irrigation of these particular area, these are primarily rain-fed areas. But when it comes to the irrigation from the, they use the diesel pump sets also. So we will be actually integrating the solar PV based the micro irrigation systems under the project as well. Next, please. So these are the few income generation activities along all these community driven. These are the business models for the biochar or the solar dryer or the portable biogas plants and all. So when we see all this, after on the community level or the household level, we see we are able to we can envisage that we can be able to create an income generation model for them. So that whatever they are earning now, so that around like 40 to 50% of increment in their earnings can be envisaged on over a year basis. Next, please. So when we talk about the annual social benefits, yes, when we talk about the BPL families and having an annual income of like 18,500 per year per household with the 2 earning members in the family. So we are actually through all these efforts which are under the STI hub, we will be creating somewhere around like 40 to 50% increase in the total family income. This is what we are envisaging through different introducing these kind of a renewable energy the technologies. Because we being a renewable energy centric organization, so whatever the technologies we are promoting or we are taking to the fields is creating like everything is renewable energy centric actually. So next slide, please. So these are the few annual environmental benefits which we are envisaging under the project. Over a period of 3 years, we are looking somewhere around closer to like 4,000 tons of carbon dioxide emission reduction. We will be aiming under the project. Next, please. Now then comes like if we are establishing this hub, then how we ensure the sustainability part. So when we talk about the sustainability, the question comes sustainability of the enterprises as well as sustainability of the hub. So under the enterprises, of course, we under the project we will be creating the complete market linkages for the processed raw materials, processed material and the products, as well as creating the backward linkages as well. So both the backward as well as the forward linkages will be created under the project. And we will also be creating some kind of a monthly urban heart at the hub to showcase their product and to the potential buyers and advertise their skills to the urban areas. And also the technical support to these enterprises as a service provider for repairing, maintenance and operation of renewable energy technologies will be taken care under the project. When we talk about the sustainability of a hub, yes, we will be after this like 3 years of kind of things, we will be using this hub for the offering training to trainers, employees of industries, corporates, enterprises, government officials. That kind of activity can be done. Skill-based certificate courses can be developed around this hub. Actually, technology transfers can be worked out through this hub for the translational research of whatever which are being developed at Sprary can be taken for the transfer and the further implementations. And this will be actually used of a common incubation facility for the universities as well. Next, please. So when we see what is the innovativeness and the novelty under the complete project, if we see, so under the project, we will be actually focusing on changing the mindset of a people and moving them towards the entrepreneurship model. So beyond this because this is for the 3-year kind of a project, which has been approved by the DST. So beyond these 3 years, the enterprises should run sustainably and not look forward towards any kind of a grant. So that's the kind of activity which we are actually focusing. And we will be creating the complete market linkages for these small scale entrepreneurs to have wealth oriented value chain. Entrepreneurship like training workshops can be will be like worked out, fostering motivation and self-confidence to of the participants. And as we know, like in India and the other parts of the world, so developing countries and all, the success rate of any startups particularly is in the range of somewhere around like 1.5 to 2%. So what we will be trying is like to improve a little bit to 1.5 to 2% to somewhere around like 3 to 4%. We are not talking will bring huge changes, but we'll be talking about incremental improvement, so that with those improvement, a lot of like benefits can be transferred to the actual grassroots level. Next, please. So under this,
kindly wrap up as you can, please.
Yeah, please. Like 2 or 3 slides as well. So give me like 2 minutes, please.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this kind of a model can be like through need-based, location-specific renewable energy implementation. Traditional knowledge will be leveraged with the modern science and technology, and a repository will be actually created through this and will be shared back with the DSTC division, so that it can be circulated and can be shared with all other like organization under the core support program or other organizations who are actively working in the field, in the same field. The capacity building through technological knowledge-based skill development activities can be taken, and we will be actually working on providing a single window platform web portal in local language, so that kind of a dialogue can be like managed very well with the grassroots level. Next, please. So under the deliverables, a long-term STI training facility will be created. Around like 200 participants annually will be like trained and develop their skill. And in 3 years, like 2,400 complete package will be on the renewable energy products will be like taken to the fields. Under the rural enterprise, around 15 to 20 entrepreneurs we are envisaging in 3 years to be developed, and a web portal and the mobile app will be created under the project. Next, please. Next, please. So under the science and technology, we will be actually like focusing on water, energy, rural enterprises, habitat and environment, and agriculture, and the food security part. Next, please. So these are the few proposed NGOs and organizational partners which we will be like approaching once we get a sanction from the DST about the project. And the selection of these NGOs will be as per the DST criteria. So these are the few like probable the potential NGO partners with whom like we will be working along with. Next, please. And these are the like over a period of time under the web clinic, our team has also been like listing the set of technologies which are already been developed by the other organizations, the institutes. We will be reaching out to them under the project, and whatever the developments or the learnings they have got, we will be taking and trying to like build it in the Gujarat-based these districts through their support also. Next, please. Thank you so much. So I'm like available to take any questions, and we are actually looking forward for kind of a support from everyone, like for taking these technologies to the field, and this kind of a suggestions and the improvements in the project over a period of time as well. We are open for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mishra, for a very impactful presentation, and congratulations for the work you're doing to for the base of the pyramid population in Gujarat and in other states as well. I think it's really commendable what you've achieved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have Mr. Ansuman Chakravarti back with us. Mr. Chakravarti, if you could hear me, could you please speak out once?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful. So we'll have your presentation, requesting Vigyan Prasar to please put Mr. Chakravarti's presentation on the screen again.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Chakravarti was speaking on remote sensing and GIS for sustainable social infrastructure development. We'll have your presentation on the screen momentarily. Yes. So we can go 3 to 4 slides, I think, into the presentation. Over to you, Mr. Chakravarti.
Okay. So as I have been speaking, our organization basically performs 2 kinds of activities. One is training in the field of remote sensing and GIS, while the other one is in the field of the consultancy services to the different governmental agencies. So let's first start with the training in form of the remote sensing and GIS, and what has been our basic concept, and what has been the basic challenges that we have faced in context of that. So I will be basically covering up that part in the very first. Since 2000, although Prantik Kedat was registered in the very year of 2011 and 12, but commercially the training activities in the field of survey engineering, remote sensing and GIS was started from 2014 onwards. And one of the most striking feature of our training program is that we have basically concentrated on the training of the students, or training of the people, or not the people, I should rather use the term youths, who basically belong from the rural agrarian environment, or who do belong from the marginalized sections of the society, be it the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, or the other backward classes. Now, in context of the first of all, the OBC, ST, and SC students, we have till date trained something around, let me first give you the total figure. I will also provide you with the graphical analysis of the same. But till date, from 2014 to 2020, there has been more than 160 students or 50 students have passed out from here. And out of that, almost 140 students to belong from the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe background, especially the scheduled tribe one, and that also from the hilly state of Arunachal Pradesh. Now, why we have taken this decision of training these people from the hilly states? Because I think all of you know, from the strategic point of view, the location of Arunachal Pradesh is very important in context of the geopolitics, or in the context of the Asian politics. That is point number one. While on the other hand, being located in a remote area, the state of Arunachal Pradesh, we thought that if the considerable mass can be developed in the state who can use up the remote sensing and GIS for the different type of localization activities, or different type of activities that may lead to the social infrastructure development, that is going to boost up the state in a big deal. And in fact, it has happened so. Just to cite you with an example, since 2016, there has been some kind of governmental placement. There has been placement to the governmental examinations and others, and our students have cracked, and currently they are using remote sensing and GIS in their day-to-day phenomena, like the land records preparation mapping, that is the land mapping or land parcel mapping, its records formulation and preparation, and as well as in terms of the day-to-day master plan preparation and other things in terms of the urban development and other activities also. Similarly, in the case of West Bengal, especially in the western parts of the state, where we are having the districts like that of the Bankura, Purulia, Birbhum, which are basically dominated by the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and the OBC communities, and has also got lack of proper awareness or lack of education in certain areas. We have been working to spread up this knowledge of remote sensing, GIS, or the geospatial sciences in these areas. Next slide, please. So this is a particular slide. I will just not go into the detailed demonstration, but you can see the total number of the intake students in our institute, as well as the total number of the students that have passed in each year wise in each and every respective discipline, as well as the total number of the students who are being placed in different governmental organizations, along with the different types of certificate and the diploma level course that we are offering in terms of the survey engineering or the geographical information system. What we basically do is that we used to keep up the fees as much low as we can, so that we can reach up to the maximum number of people. Because from our organization, we used to observe one particular day, that is the second day of August every year as Matre Divash, that is to observe the birthday of our organizational founder. And on that particular day, we used to confer Kanyasri and Yuvasri to a good number of students. That is a flagship program of our organization, and it is also funded by our organization itself. Now, during that particular program, we have seen there are a good number of students that are spread across these western parts of Birbhum districts, or across the entire West Bengal, we should say, who are afraid to come in the periphery of this remote sensing GIS survey, just keeping in mind the context of the course fees. So we want to bring such students to the fore. We want to train them so that they be able to lead their life in a proper way, or may go in the realm of having a sustainable livelihood development. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes. So these are the different number of students that we can see that who are being admitted in different courses, as well as who have passed out and other things. Next slide. So let's go to the next slide. That will basically tell about the major challenges that we have faced. As you can see, I have clearly written in between 2014 to 2020. More than 150 students have passed out in land surveying, and more than 15 students have passed out in geographical information system and remote sensing from our organization. Now, this training has not only helped them in the attainment of proficiency in remote sensing on land surveying, but has also paved the way for attainment of different jobs that has led to the way towards attainment of sustainable livelihood for these young, dynamic, and talented youths. In the second point, many of our students are now working with different governmental organizations like Department of Land Management in Government of Arunachal Pradesh, and day to day they are using up this respective knowledge of the machine learning, software, etc. to prepare the land use land cover map, cadastral map, disaster management related maps, geological maps, etc. And these maps are basically helping the government in formulation of their day-to-day planning works, or a comprehensive strategy towards attainment of a goal of development for the society, as well as to generate more and more revenue for the state itself. Now, based on this education that the students have earned from our organization, it is being noted that many of them have started their own organizations over there. So what we are doing is that we are training one person, and that person is in turn is training another 10%. So automatically the science is reaching among the people. So that is one of the basic achievement of our organization over these very years. Now, what are the challenges that we have faced? First of all, as we are basically a non-governmental organization and we are basically devoid of any kind of fund from the government, arranging and maintenance of the financial assistance to sustain up the different activities sometimes it becomes a basic nightmare for us. Again,
Mr. Chakrabarti, you will have to wrap up in next minute, please. 60 more seconds for you. Please,
yeah, sure. In terms of the other challenges, as you can see in the field of education, there are a number of stalwarts, and they are also having some kind of threat. Now, I will be wrapping up some. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide. So this particular training, we are training we are imparting our training to the students in association with a good number of governmental departments. As I have mentioned, like Department of Land Management, we are working in collaboration with Regional Remote Sensing Center East, Kolkata. We are also working in collaboration with West Bengal State Council for Science and Technology, and we are all working together to spread our. We are making a deliberate attempt to popularize of the concept of remote sensing and GIS in the society, and to spread it among the ranks and files, so that can be so that this particular scientific knowledge or stream can be used for different developmental works in the society. Now let's go to the next slides. Next slide, please. Next. Go to the next. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide. Go to the next slide. Activity 2. Yes, this is another major word, or this is another major activity that has been performed, that is online mapping of assets of the Birbhum district using the geo portal of NRSC, Department of Space, Government of India, using the particular app, mobile-based app that NRSC has prepared. We have mapped up the governmental as well as the non-governmental assets in this particular district, and this not only provided a job to a good number of talented youths from our behalf, but on the other hand, this has provided a comprehensive resource database to the government for use in the process of sustainable planning and development. Now, let's go to the next slide. I will just show you the methodology. Now, what are the basic problems which are being faced? In certain cases, it is being found that certain schools are not very cooperative in form of the dissemination of information, and they have asked about the genuineness of our work order. Again, ration dealers were a bit skeptical to provide up detailed information. But what are the, keeping aside the respective challenges that we have faced, what are the achievements? First of all, a complete digital database of all governmental and non-governmental assets for decentralized planning and development. When the enumerators went to the field, people in every locality came forward to put up their views about the problems and needs. That is a major achievement. Though the enumerators, we have tried to sound their grievances, if any time, as well as appreciation of different social welfare schemes of the government. That is the third achievement. The fourth one is that an awareness was created among the toiling masses related to the digital database, map making, and the concept of digital India. Now, this project basically provided an opportunity to earning of livelihood for a good number of dynamic and talented youths that is spread across these rural areas. Now, let's go to the next slide.
Please conclude, Dr. Chakrabarty. We are really behind schedule. Please conclude.
Okay, then let's go to the last part. Let's go to the synopsis part. Yes, this one. Not only in the Birbhum district, we have also taken off a good number of project initiatives with different other departments, like Department of Land Management, Department of Town Planning and Urban Local Bodies, Department of Science and Technology under the Government of Arunachal Pradesh, as well as under the Government of West Bengal, Government of Odisha, as well as in some other parts of the nation also. What we have basically found is that people in majority of the areas, be it in the government department, be it in the non-governmental organizations or in other parts, still they are not very aware about the applications of remote sensing GIS or their use. So I think a much more noble initiative needs to be taken to popularize up this basic concept first. Because until and unless we will not be able to reach up the people with the basic concept of remote sensing and GIS, there cannot be a digital India, because digital India needs digital maps. This is the first and foremost observation that we would like to place. Second, if proper training and dissemination of information can be done, that will lead to harnessing of not only new talents and creation of new job opportunities can be made. That will to a great extent solve the problem of unemployment and other things. While on the other hand, this may also lead, harnessing of the remote sensing and GIS may lead to the harnessing of better revenue standards, or it may help in maximization of revenue for the different governmental departments in different parts of the nation or the country. And finally, like sometimes we used to speak that in this place government fund is being misutilized or misplaced and other things are there. So all this kind of ambiguities can be done away to a great extent if we can use remote sensing and GIS in different ranks and files of the governmental machinery in terms of the mapping, project planning, formulation, development, as well as in terms of the other aspects are concerned. With that all, I would like to conclude and thank everyone for providing me the opportunity to speak in this August occasion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chakrabarty. I think you really emphasized the importance of remote sensing and GIS, and how what sort of important role it plays in the development of a country like ours. Data definitely is an asset in this process, and that is what is required. And it definitely has a far-reaching utility and impact on especially to the base of the pyramid population. Thank you so much. Moving on, quickly, I would now like to request Dr. Lavanyan Dorairaj from LYNK Ampuport Private Limited. He would be talking about sustainable, scalable, and cost-effective strategies to provide daily clinics at remote, small, and tiny villages. Over to you, Dr.
Thank you so much.
Dorairaj, for your presentation.
Thank you so very much for the introduction. And let me start off with connecting up my
Yeah, Dr. Dorairaj, your voice is not,
Dr. Dorairaj, can we have a quick...
Are you able to hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Now, let me try and share my...
Yeah.
Are you able to see my presentation now, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Yes,
wonderful. Thank you so very much. So let me start. Let me first, of course, mute my image. Let's see how that happens. And so that once I mute my, no, I'm not able to see where that goes. Nevertheless. All right, so it's muted. So let me start. I'd like to speak today and on sustainable, scalable, and cost-effective strategies to provide daily clinics at remote, small, and tiny villages. Thank you so very much for the honor of permitting me to speak out here and share my views so that it can reach out to the rural areas, to the grassroots where it's going to be most useful. When I was listening to the previous speaker, Dr. Saha, his thoughts resonated very much with what I have to say, because we believe in the same thing, that primary care and preventive care needs to be taken care of so that the country's healthcare needs can be brought down to a sustainable level, which right now is going beyond control because and an expert in healthcare informatics. I was the Deputy Director of Medical Services for the Indian Air Force, and I also was the I am the Director for Link Ampuport Private Limited, and I was the Vice President of Telemedicine for the Apollo Hospitals Group, among the so many other posts that I'd held. So moving ahead, as all of you, ladies and gentlemen, are aware, there are a lot of pain points as far as rural healthcare is concerned. And according to a recent census, not exactly recent, 2011, I would say, almost 69% of Indians live in villages. And as was said by the previous doctors, almost 70 to 80% of doctors reside in the cities. And unfortunately for us, though the government is working very hard, there are just about 25,000 PHCs, primary healthcare centers, which and out of which only 13% meet public health standards. So as you can understand, there's a large gap. More shocking is the fact that almost 2.36 lakh Indian villages have fewer than 500 people. Imagine trying to provide these small villages with primary care outpatient departments on a daily basis. Well, simple to say that it is impossible to do that, but is it impossible? No, there are possibilities. All right, so we must also understand that though we are doing a lot testing our people in this COVID pandemic for COVID positivity, Indian villages are now going to become silent spreaders because testing has not really reached the village level. We do not really know what's happening there. Now, healthcare via telemedicine is a good possibility, but there are multiple challenges, as were, I think, also said by Dr. Saha. The challenges are, of course, the expensive setup and running costs, the infrastructure costs, costs of medicines, costs of tests, lack of connectivity, which could be a problem, shortage of staff, limited budgets, profitability, sustainability being a problem, and lots of issues like this. So what we're looking at, if we need to, cover the people of India, the rural people of India, which is a very large number, we need a robust, affordable, scalable, and quickly implementable solution. And that is urgently required. Then what we need to do is we need to be, as I said, Atmanirbhar. In other words, we need to look at self-sufficiency. And how can we do that? Very simple. We make the villages a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem that they are right now. Why does a village have to ask the government for help with healthcare if they themselves can set up their own healthcare systems? And the fact is that almost 70 to 80% of problems that you have can be taken care of by primary care requirements and nothing more than that. In other words, yes, it is possible for villages to sustain their own healthcare needs. Only thing is, unfortunately, they do not know how to do that. Now, the requirements are very straightforward. We must ensure that every village has OPD cover for at least 6 days a week, or not 6, at least 5 days. They should cover primary, preventive, chronic, palliative, and emergency care. They should provide what we call the circle of care. In other words, first, this should be available or accessible literally at their doorstep. There should be consultation followed by triage. Triage means trying to decide, the doctor decides whether the patient needs to be seen by a higher center or can be treated locally. And then the test needs to be carried out if required. Then you give them the medicines, give them the advice, then transfer if required to hospital, if required, of course, and then follow up. Perfect, a circle of care, 360 degrees. That is what we need. And patient data must be stored in an interoperable and secure electronic medical record where telemedicine is utilized and, of course, should be utilized, must follow the Telemedicine Practice Guidelines 2020. Now, there's another requirement. For telemedicine, you need connectivity. Well, a lot of villages do not have connectivity. In other words, the applications we provide should work even without connectivity. And yes, that is possible. And yes, if we can provide ambulance services to each village, that would be fantastic. And that is possible. And let's remember that we need not jump in for everything at a time. We can make it in such a way that you start with something and upgrade slowly, and that is possible. And let's see how this is possible. I shall give you an example. And we do hope that through all of you, we could reach out to the rural areas, to the people in the villages, so that they can use this technology to make themselves Atmanirbhar or self-sufficient. Moving ahead, here's an example of the AmbuPod solution. Essentially, the AmbuPod solution has everything that you require to run a self-sustaining clinic along with an ambulance. Of course, everything for primary care services, which, as I told you, is a main requirement. It has a vehicle bundled medical equipment, medical consumables, tests, IT hardware, software, and support from certified doctors at the back end, everything that they're required to start off within 24 hours. Now, we suggest that if a village cannot afford the whole shebang, let them start with a small ambu pack or a man-carried pack. It would have everything that you need, except, of course, for the ambulance. The rest would all be there. And then they can add on a cycle to it, an ambu cycle. And after that, when they have a little more money, they can actually add a motor pack. But the simplest thing is to actually go in for the AmbuPod clinic, because this AmbuPod clinic does everything for you, and it covers almost about 4 to 5, as much as even 6 villages within a 10 to 12 kilometer range. In other words, these villages would be covered 6 days in a week with everything: diagnostic tests, emergency equipment, emergency ambulance services, primary care, emergency care, telemedicine application, the works. at an incredibly low cost of setup and running. So you would probably try to think and ask, what is this? Well, if you have a quick look, as you can see, the equipment, everything that you require is there. And yet it is incredibly low cost, thanks to technology being developed in India and abroad, which is making all of this affordable. The patent pending AmbuPod itself is a design for which we have a patent in India. As you can see, I will not waste time, I'll move ahead. All the equipment you need for emergency care, like the ambu bag, the suction machine, oxygen, everything is an ECG machine, and so on and so forth.
How to not? I'm allowed to not. Because from the local government, from the dispensary, they have issued an undertaking, and I've signed it, that I will not leave unless we all are clear and clean. We are out of COVID.
Take care, no need.
May I request Vigyan Prasad to please mute all the mics, please? Yes, Dr. Rairaj, please.
I'm sorry, there was some crosstalk. That was
yes, there was.
Definitely not
it's sorted now. It's sorted. You can continue, sir.
So moving ahead, if you notice, all the equipment out here have been made in such a way that they do not need electricity. They either work on battery or they work on hand power or foot power or whatever else, but no mains power required. That's how they can work in villages, even if there's no electricity. Moving ahead, just a quick look at all the other innovative mechanisms that are there, equipment that are there. Look at this ECG machine, for example. The size of a credit card takes a full 12-lead ECG. And of course, everything is a need: glucometer, HB strips, tests for COVID and malaria if required, even a fetal Doppler for an unborn baby to be checked out. Everything is available on this and at very low costs. What is so good about all this is because it's all put together to run through the AmbuPod telemedicine solution, which has been specifically designed as per the requirements of the telemedicine practice guidelines. It's a cloud-based solution which works on or off the net. It has a built-in EMR. It focuses on structured clinical data capture. And it has built-in security powered by the Google engine with the most modern of technology, and has all the standards required of the EHR standards for our country, including HL7, ICD-10, SNOMED CT, LOINC, and so on and so forth. Even the e-prescription that are provided by it are as per the TPG 2020. It is touch and user-friendly, and as the previous speaker, Dr. Saha, had said, everything just needs drop-down lists or clicking on it to select any requirement that is there from the patient perspective. Very easily done. It can acquire patient images, capture data from medical devices, and is extremely easy to use. So what I'm trying to bring forward is that all these solutions are available today. They are available today, and they need to be taken to the people in the villages. Now, to summarize, sustainable, scalable, upgradable, and cost-effective solutions require innovations and collaboration. Let's remember that. In simple words, there are no competitors in this field. We have too large a population. There are only partners or potential partners. What we say is we all need to get together, and we need to make the villages aware that they can now create their own solutions. They can now create their own solutions and ensure that they can be keepers of their own health. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation, and I can take questions on the chat channel. And thank you so very much for your time. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dorairaj, for a very well-placed presentation. It was very well understood. I think even a layman like me with no medical background could understand the importance of primary care, which you highlighted in your presentation, and how relevant it is to save important lives. And I think that needs to be the fundamental moving forward. If for an Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think those gap areas needs to be filled in for to treasure the human life, what we are planning to improve in times to come. Thank you so much, Dr. Dorairaj. Moving forward, you'll have questions in the chat window, as you rightly pointed out, and please feel free to answer them in the window. we have last presentation, last but not the least of the day, from Ashuddhi Nashak is the organization, Mrs. Swati Bedekar and Mr. Shyam Sundar Bedekar. They are with us. Thank you so much, Mr. and Mrs. Bedekar, for joining us today. And over to you for your presentation on Ashuddhi Nashak.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I am audible. Hello.
Yes, you are.
Okay. I'm Swati Bedekar. The name of my. Hello. I'm Swati Bedekar.
I think you have logged in from 2 accounts, therefore it is creating this resonance. I think you have to log out from one account. We see 2 accounts where you have logged in.
Okay, now is it okay?
Yes, it is now.
Hello?
Yeah, it's okay now. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Datta.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The name of my organization is Vatsalya Foundation. We are based in Gujarat. We started our work from Gujarat. Me and Shyam, my husband. Next slide, please. Hello. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. We work under the umbrella of Vatsalya Foundation and essentially work on science and mathematics education. But while working there, realized that girls are not coming to the schools, so decided to work on the menstrual health of the girls and the women, and tried making some ways that it would be feasible for the girls to come to school. Next, please. Excuse me, next please. Yeah. We realized that this was this particular issue of girls not coming to school after reaching puberty was in a way global but very local, because a lot of myths and taboos were attached to it, and we needed a local solution, because where all the other things can be made available, like Coca-Cola and chips, etc. For the multinational companies operating in India, distribution of napkins wasn't a problem, but definitely the cost and the mindset of Indian women was a very big problem. So we decided to work on awareness, training, and manufacturing of the napkins, so affordable access can be given to the women. And in awareness, essentially we worked on delinking the menstrual hygiene or menstrual periods from sex to connecting them with health. So giving awareness was possible. Then my husband Shyam made machines based on the same concept as Arunachalam, but these machines were better engineering and drudgery free. Women could easily work on it. It involved a lot of principles like screw and gears, etc. And women very easily in sitting or standing position could work on it, giving high production rate of the sanitary napkins. We also simultaneously worked on biodegradable options for these sanitary napkins, because whatever was there in Indian market was all full of plastic, or you was using polymers. Of course, we trained the women in marketing of the napkins also, and made them available, made them popular in the villages. Next, please. These are the machines and the napkins produced. Next, please. When we made the napkins popular in the villages, one day we did face a problem that women were not wanting to work. They said, okay, we do like the napkins, but we still can't use them, as in rural area there is no way of discarding, disposal of the used napkins. And this was a serious problem, and a good project was really, something that gave livelihood to women, as well as something that gave affordable access to sanitary napkins so the girls could go to school, was at stake. So Sham devised what you can see, a terracotta article in front of you. After a lot of research, he devised this so that, let's see the next, how it is made. First of all, it merges in the rural landscape. That was very, very essential because the privacy of the girl was very important, as a lot of taboo was attached to it. Secondly, the basic requirement was it had to be low cost. Nobody for this kind of a reason was willing to sort of spend on electricity, power, or any other kind of fuel. So this has a very simple design, but a very effective working. As in, can we just see the next slide? So, next slide, please. Operation. Yeah. Here, in 3 seconds, just by lifting the top lid, the napkin goes in, which is a 3-second operation. The next chamber is storage as well as combustion chamber. For combustion, very simple things such as grass or paper has to be introduced from the lower opening of the Ashuddinasham. Then the napkins gathered here on the top. I'm just taking my cursor to it, if you can see it. The flame catches the napkins. The napkins are made of cellulose material largely. If it is our napkin, it is 100% biodegradable. But even the napkins which have some amount of plastic in it, this Ashuddinashak works at a very, very low temperature less than the melting point of polyethylene, and doesn't burn the plastic part at all. It just remains intact. So when the ash comes down, as shown in the large chamber, all the napkins burn and the ash comes down automatically, making the chamber empty for the next day's use. Now, this size can be, the size of the Ashuddinashak can be easily placed in schools, colleges, in any institution where there are around 100 or more women. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, this explains the working. Here is a top lid from where the napkins go in. This is a storage and combustion chamber. From here we introduce the fire once in 24 hours. So whatever napkins that are gathered in this chamber are kind of burned in the evening time, preferably, and the ash automatically goes down in the lower chamber. Next, please. Now we come to utility and benefits of this. First of all, this is very, very cheap. This has offered another livelihood option to the potters in the villages. Till now, they were only making diyas and matkas, and now they can make this also. The operation is so simple that rural girls or women, the maximum thing is that they can make is they know how to light a chulha, and here the operation is as simple as of a chulha. So very easily, without any inhibitions, girls can operate this. Then just picking up the top lid and putting in the napkin keeps her dignity intact, because this doesn't attract too much of attention, doesn't look very beautiful, but is very effective. The combustion currents, etc., the shape of it is designed in such a way that with all the combustion currents, 100% burning of the napkins inside happens. Next, please. Next, please. We have made two different models. So in the first photograph, whatever you see, if it is kept in the open in villages, it is very, very strong. It doesn't get broken with if an animal comes and jumps on it, or by the weathering, like the rains and this, etc. This instrument initially, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan Gujarat, they installed it in all the schools of Gujarat, and now you will find it everywhere in major cities. Many of now this is the Institute of Women Scientists. Here are some ashram schools. It is almost everywhere. Girls learn to operate it very fast, and it is useful also. Even the terracotta version, which is generally we encourage local potters to make it. So far, we have trained more than 100 potters colonies to make this Ashuddhinashak. Government of Madhya Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh have supported it by promoting it as a pilot project in two of the districts. In Gujarat, it is everywhere in all the schools, girls' schools. Major universities are also using it. Next, please. Next, please. Okay. With this, particularly menstrual hygiene, it was kind of a neglected area. What we tried to do was make a biodegradable napkin, so that where the temperature in our country is around 30 to 40 degrees on an average, it becomes less hazardous to the women's skin. They can wear it for a longer time, and since the water is a very much diminishing resource, particularly in Rajasthan, Gujarat, water, there's a very much scarcity of water. So having a disposable napkin is important, but the same napkin can be made out of biodegradable material. In our case, we use the banana stem threads to make our absorbent sheets, which has given us very good results. And women are happily making napkins across the country. Another thing, whenever we open a unit, napkin manufacturing unit, there we also introduce Ashuddhinashak. We named it Ashuddhinashak because word Ashuddhi is very closely associated with the menstruation. So we just wanted to emphasize that whatever impurities, when the blood is exposed to the air, can be destroyed in this, and it is always a good idea to dispose of a soiled napkin in 24 hours. Here, another important thing is girls are learning to use a napkin and dispose it off responsibly without burdening the earth by sending out napkins in the landfill, or an expensive option for the government of burning them in a very large size electrical incinerators. Next, please. And of course, it saves a lot of money to the governments if the napkins are disposed of at source where they are used, and not spend money on transportation and incineration. This particular project, Sakhi, has more than 150 units running across 24 Indian states. In some places, we have received support from the government, and we are very thankful for that. In some places, we have got the support from the corporates or individuals. More than 5,000 Ashuddhinashaks are installed across the nation in schools, colleges, and offices. It is also giving small livelihood to women, as well as it is giving them the option to pursue their dreams, to pursue their education. The thing is, our napkin uses indigenous raw material, and mostly we try to support zero waste farming. in different places, like with district of Rajpipla in Gujarat, we have this arrangement that whatever banana farms are there, after the pruning of the fruits, we take away the fiber from the farmers and give it to the factory to turn it into sheets, etc. Next, please.
Ma'am, I would request you to please wrap up in a minute, please.
Yeah, last slide. This is last slide. This particular project is kind of giving livelihood to our people from the stage of raw material to the stage of disposal of the napkins, and particularly for women, where their status was that of a maid in India, a farm's worker, etc. Now they have come forward as leaders of Made in India pads movements, and it is also helping them in being healthy, happy, and pursuing their dreams. I would like to thank DST as well as Dr. Ketki Bapat, Principal Scientific Officer, for giving this opportunity to present this project in front of all of you. The best thing here is this is a very, very doable project where even a rural or an urban girl can, feel very, very safe during her periods and pursue her work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Berekar. This is really commendable, the work you've done on ground. I mean, we are proud of what you've done. You've not only empowered the women, by improving the menstrual health situation of the girl child, you've even created livelihood opportunity out of this. I think this is a 360-degree development work what you've done, and we congratulate you. And I'm sure in times to come, Gujarat, Rajasthan is one of your strong areas, with Himachal Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh also piloting your project. I'm sure the entire country would soon have this solution. Thank you so much.
We are also working in the Northeast regions. I'm open for questions. I can answer them in the chat room.
Yes, ma'am. There is a question which I would like to take up before because most of the questions which were asked by the audience to the speakers have been answered in the chat box. One question from Director Gaurav from Sprary. He asked, what happens to the emissions, ma'am? As this waste falls under medical waste, so is low temperature treatment suffice pollution control board requirements? Can you please throw some light on this?
Yes. Actually, RUTAG, IIT Madras, they have done many texts and tests on this Ashwini Nashak, the ash, the material, and the emissions. It has very little emissions, as we use a lot of lime, which is an absorbent. The burning takes place once at very spot, and as I said, the temperature becomes high around 200 degrees for a few seconds and then comes down immediately. It does not burn the plastic. That is the most important thing. You have to just, from the ash, you have to hand pick it and just, the ash is totally, completely of organic material in the napkin. And if our sanitary napkin unit is there somewhere and those napkins, when they are burnt, they completely turn into 100% ash.
Okay.
Have I answered?
I reckon yes, you have. Has it been implemented somewhere in Odisha as well, ma'am?
In Odisha, yes. In Odisha, in Gopalpur by sea, Nuapada, and Bhubaneswar, few schools are having it. Yeah.
Thank you. A quick question about the standardization protocols you observe for the biodegradable napkins. Have they been medically tested as well, ma'am?
Yes, by the testing laboratories and by the health department, because when we worked with the Northeastern Ministry, Steiner, it was necessary to have all the checks and tests done. and we have done that.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
we can present all these things whenever we are asked to.
Wonderful, right. And one last question for you, Ms. Bedekar. How many napkins does it hold? It is from Dr. Gopi Krishna from DST. How many napkins does it hold? And is it just
yes. The combustion chamber or the storage chamber, usually it holds around 30 to 35 napkins, soil napkins, which are wrapped up in paper. Well, if we give all the detailed instructions, such as it is not to be placed in a plastic bag, we also give a paper wrapper along with every napkin so that it can be wrapped in the paper, in that paper itself when it is to be thrown away. At the same time, the fire, if the combustion storage chamber is full, you can introduce fire twice a day. It is not necessary that it has to be introduced just once. It can be introduced twice a day. But our experience tells us that even where there are 400 students in such schools also, daily napkin collection is around 25 to 30 napkins only. Because usually what we do is we increase the number of the Ashudinashas. The cost is such that one can very well have more than 2 or 3 if it's a big institution. And of course, where there are 100 students, it can serve them very well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Bedekar. Congratulations again. On that note, I think we'll move on. There were some very interesting, very knowledgeable presentations being made under this panel, starting with Mr. Chakraborty, then Dr. Mishra, Dr. Dorai Raj, and finally by Mrs. Bedekar. Thank you all very much for a very, very interesting session. I would now request Dr. Devapriya Datta to please take on from here for his concluding remarks and his address. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, thank you, Rubab. Thank you, Rubab and Dr. Gopi, for coordinating these sessions, and thank you, the other speakers to bring different aspects of the social infrastructures. I think the most important or the interesting thing what Mr. Dipendu Sarkar started initially from the experience of an implementation point of view of Manrega, that how the science technology can go and empower the community. So he spoke about that the Usharmukhi program, where there is hydrology, meteorology has a role, spring shed development, and which is already worked around with the NGOs, but it's implementing in the 475 the springs, and also the alternative construction technology, hydroponics, aquaponics. And so I have questions with Mr. Sarkar. Mr. Sarkar, this, you have seen that as Manrega is being implemented, this is the government implemented the direct benefit providing programs. And as you see from the science technology point of view, you have seen from the many the presenters, and we have lot of the technology. Now, really, how this interfacing can be done? Because one thing what you have told from your experience, that what are the opportunity, but what we have, how we can really go and strengthen and create new opportunity for the community. I think your from your experience, that how this interfacing can be done will really be one of the important layers what we are trying here to reach the science and society set. Mr. Sarkar?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
I think. Okay. So two things. The Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, kind of implements, coordinates with the states in implementation of the scheme. So the ministry can be approached by some kind of the Ministry of science and technology, so that some kind of a collaboration can positively be thought of. There might be a series of discussions initially, and then we can move forward. The secondly, in some of the states, the state commissioner or secretary or principal secretary, whoever be in charge of the program, they take keen interest in introducing certain things. So that can be another area. The third area, yes, BRLF, Bharat Rural Livelihood Foundation, who the organization which has collaborated with us, would be keen to collaborate with certain other in certain other states, like especially the this patriotic zone that is Jharkhand, Odisha, and all those areas. So these are some of the avenues which can be thought of.
Okay, thank you very much. I think because what you have told that how really at a systemic level we can definitely we will try. We will be in touch with MORT and also that the state coordinators. We try to I think you may be aware that as you have already told that you are working with the Department of Science and Technology of Government of West Bengal, and similarly we have state councils, state assembly councils. So the state assembly councils also we can reach out to the state coordinators and can they exploit and align with their interest in those states. I think yesterday what we saw in the one important aspects of the social, the infrastructure is the mostly the nutrition aspects and the education aspects. But today we saw a huge, the emphasis on the health sector and the very innovative, the aspects what Dr. Shatadal Saha has spoken about that in how, like Dr. Saha's this Uday software model, and it's that the software model is like what he has really shown that how it has gone on the field and can empower the field level the health workers to improve the interactions and the the bringing the advantage of the technology, bringing the advantage of the technology to the community. This is a very nice, the model, and this is a model which has really an example of an Atma, the Vishwas and the Atma Nirbharata, because it has come out of our the experience, and definitely we will look forward towards that how this can be upscaled the other state also through different mechanisms, which was supplemented by Dr. Dorai Raj, and then so from his experience that the Ambu pod, like what he the Ambu pod is also one of the the technological and the innovative interventions which can strengthen the last mile healthcare delivery, which is a challenge before all of us in this country. And we will further discuss with Dr. Raj that how this Ambu pod can be improved and can be taken in different the part of the country. So that is definitely the two very important the innovations which can improve the Atmanirbharata in the sectors of the healthcare delivery. And the other important thing that what Dr. Shankar brought out about the sustainable the habitats, the upscaling requirement by utilizing the local resources, the new technology, and the more sustainable the technologies is a very good example. I like Dr. Shankar is a very well-known figure, and we would, Dr. Shankar will be really interested to work in these sectors and the other the technology which has been developed through our Department of Science and Technologies interventions, whether we can align with those things and create more opportunities in terms of the the interventions as well as the enterprise opportunities. It's a what exploratory things. We have heard about the Paris STI path, which is for the energy aspects for the travel community. And what Ashwati Nashak's example, we got it from Ms. Swati Vedekar, and I have already spoke with your husband. Like what we discussed about, like I didn't get that answer. I would really will be interested to get that answer. You have developed and this the very low cost and the relevant technology. Whether this technological, the technology transfer can be done into the different part of the country among the community, which will help them not only to adopt the technology, but can create a really this livelihood relevant enterprise at the local level. We would like to have that type of an experiment with the the more of the Shipkas, the tribe community of the country. Like I would really interested to have a response from you that then we can take it forward. So similarly, we have seen that what Mr. Anshuman Chakravarti talked about, that how an emerging technology like of remote sensing can be used for the development of the planning capability of the community and their capacity building. So this is we are thinking of we have initiatives from the Department of Science and Technology, the social spatial empowerment. Like this is one example of how social spatial technology can do the social empowerment, and that's the way we see the future, that this type of a new or emerging technology can really create and change at the field level. So I think this is the first week of the social infrastructure we are ending. We have found very good ideas from yesterday, the nutrition, the local nutrition-based entrepreneurship development, similarly the spoken tutorial projects, the frugal 5G network, and the digital software for the artisans, similarly for the farmers, the ICT, this thing for the farmers. Dr. Sharif's examples of how in Bihar the fluoride affected community have been given the interventions. Similarly, the benchmark, the bench created by Dr. Sanjeev Singh from the Chandigarh University for not only for the education but also for this post-COVID situations, but making PPEs. So with today's the experience, we'd like to come up with a the comprehensive. I think this week's opportunities what we have identified, and we'll put it before you in the next week. So with that, I think that's the the summarizations from my side, and I would request anyone. Do we see any one of our committee members here, or any of our? So I think if you have any particular comments.
Dr. Anil Joshi is there. Dr. Anil Joshi is there.
Dr. Joshi? Dr. Joshi, I think he has left. I think I don't see him here. Yes, he is here. Dr. Joshi? Dr. Joshi? So his name is here. I don't see it here.
Yeah.
Or any of like Dr. Joshi, are you here? I see he is even on the one line, but or any of the speakers, like many of you are interacting with us first time, but how do you find that this this platform can be made more useful for the last mile delivery of the science and technology and innovations? That will be the welcome. You want to?
I would request you to share all the presentations with us so that we can also get into the depth of it and suggest if anything can be done to collaborate and things like that. That would be good.
So thank you very much. We will definitely share with you all these presentations, and I think from the Vigyan Prasar sides, Dr. Joshi said that he's been muted. So can you unmute him so that he can speak? He's trying to speak, but he's muted. Yes, Dr. Durairat, could you please unmute Dr. Joshi, please? Yeah. Please, Dr. Durairat. Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to thank all of you and the organization for allowing us this opportunity to reach out through you and the organizations that are here to the rural environment so that we can help more and more villagers become self-sufficient. What we look forward to is if there is some kind of pathway where we could reach out to the panchayats, because they're the ones who make the difference, and then they could actually look at trying out our technology and understanding the gains that are there for them, and they could then connect beyond that to the government organizations, thereby reducing load on the government organizations, healthcare organizations, and yet maintaining quality healthcare in their rural areas. That's just common from my side. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Actually, we as a follow-up of that, I think the third, we are inviting the joint secretary from the Panchayati Raj Ministry, and definitely we will put it like the opportunity or your suggestions so that we can take it forward.
Thank you so very much.
And Dr. Durairat, I am having one question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So can this Ambu pod, which you told it is 5.5 lakhs, so can it be downscaled or can it be scaled to certain requirements?
Absolutely.
Because if I don't,
it is basically
I don't need all the things.
I understand your question. I think it's a very relevant question. Yes, the Ambu pod is basically a healthcare platform. It can be broken up into certain components, like what I'd shown. You could have a man pack, a person carrying it on his back, or it could be a personal cycle carrying a certain set of equipment, and it can be reduced in size and obviously cost, and it could still provide a lot of services that are required. And as and when they have the capability to add on more services, they continue doing that till they extend and have the full setup. And honestly speaking, if about 5 villages get together, spending 1 lakh per village for one time, I don't think is really out of reach of most villages. That's what we have found. And especially the fact is that when they start getting healthcare services at prices lower than the cities. For example, we'll be doing an ECG with report only for 75 rupees. Blood sugar will be just 35 rupees. A MBBS doctor's consultation might cost just about 50 to 75 rupees. Where would they get that? Even in cities. So I'm sure, and villagers have the capability to pay for good services. So we do see things possibly.
What about the troubleshooting and all, after sales maintenance and all? So that you will provide?
Yes, you see, as far as the medical services are concerned, all that is being looked after by us. On top of it, the software service is also being looked after by us. As far as the vehicle is concerned, we are now, the latest that we are providing are very, very stable diesel vehicles from well-known companies. So these companies have their service centers in almost every part of India, every state, every city, and they would look after the local servicing. So that should not be a problem. If some equipment malfunctions, we would ensure that it is taken care of within 24 to 36 hours, depending on, of course, where this is happening, because distances do take a toll. But yes, it would be sorted out. Should not be an issue. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you.
A pleasure. If there are any other questions, we shall be happy to answer them. I've also put our link on the chat, kindly, if you have the time, please go through and you can visit our site and have details there. And you can also correspond with us if required. We are always there for your help and support. Thank you.
We were trying to bring Dr. Joshi, but because of the, I think some technical reasons, he not being able to unmute. So with that, I think if anyone of you have any other questions, otherwise we'll, break for today, and then we will meet again in the next week on 26th and 27th. On 26th and 27th. So if we do not have anyone have any questions, we thank all of you, and we will meet again on 26th and 27th with the same topic of the social infrastructures, and that week's more focus will be on this, the disadvantaged sections of the society and how we can split them. With that, thank you very much. Thank you all, and good evening and good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.